Hey folks, welcome back to part two of what I'm calling Coupon Book Wars, because that's what we're in now, with between American Express and Chase pursuing the top spot in your wallets individually. Let's look at some of the other issuers, and they all have an impetus to jump in on this and take advantage while there's some sort of gettings good. So what I mean by that is we've seen that American Express is making a ton of money with their coupon book strategy, with the American Express Gold card, with the American Express Platinum card. Potentially there could be changes to the green. We could see new cards from American Express to help create their place as in primacy of your wallet. There are missing categories. Maybe these new cards take that on. Maybe there's additional changes to the green card. They've got 9 new trademarks, but this isn't about American Express, and this isn't even about Chase. They're both looking for the top spot in your wallet. In the interim, it can make a lot of sense to have a secondary system. And the next card up that has a premium travel card would be Capital One. Talking about the Capital One Venture X as that card, but Capital One does have a strong 2-card setup with the Venture X and the Saver, then it makes a lot of sense that they can be either your primary setup if you want to just clean, simple, easy to use, not necessarily a ton of everyday transfer partners, because they don't have a Hyatt or an IHG or Marriott or even Hilton, but they've got Wyndham, they've got Choice, they've got Accor, they have good airline partners. And if you play the game at an intermediate and expert level in terms of point transfers, point transfer capabilities, second step partnerships, you can do a good amount of damage in terms of serious value using Capital One. I'm not here to reject that notion, but it does mean that you are starting at an intermediate or more advanced level than you are going after just Chase to Hyatt equals easy, right? Amex to Hilton equals easy. You don't have that level with Capital One. But Capital One, they've dabbled in coupon books before, but their coupon book so far has primarily been Capital One focused. And with rumors and circulating and surveys going out about a potential, we're calling it the Saver X, but it could obviously have another name when it launches, a $295 annual fee card that is going to be 4 times dining and entertainment, 3 times groceries, $120 in Apple Music or Apple TV membership. I don't remember which one. $120 in Uber credits, $100 entertainment credit with Capital One, $100 travel credit with Capital One, and it also included Uber One membership. Maybe it was $120 toward Uber One. So either way, this card is rumored. Now, they've done an annual fee Saver card before. When they initially launched Saver was originally 4 times dining, 4 times, I want to say 4 times entertainment, but 3 times grocery, 1x everything else. And then they took that formula, put it on a $95 card, had a lower end Saver 1 card that was renamed Saver, and now they're going to try and come back in with an annual fee card to take on the American Express Gold card for $30 less, but still decent coupon value, potentially. And if you pair this card with the Venture X, you're going to have $680 in annual fees. You're going to have the $300 travel coupon with the Venture X, an additional $100 from the Saver X card, and then $100 in Capital One Entertainment before you get to the other 2 memberships. So $400 in Capital One travel, $500 in Capital One specific credits, and on a $680 combined annual fee. Now you only have to do another $180. So if it's $120 with Apple Music, okay, cool. Now you have 2 cards for effectively $60. Effectively. So, the sort of ingredients seem to be coming together. And this is before any potential changes to the Capital One Venture X, which the Venture X has been a too good to be true deal for a long time. And as long as it's too good to be true, the other shoe will eventually drop, which I would imagine that the other shoe is going to drop sooner than later. I don't know when. And that's just pure speculation on my part. But looking at Capital One, they're the next team. They're the next bank up for jumping into this coupon war, where if they do things strategically and they offer the right coupons here and there, they could become a serious player and make a bigger play because they're already in the lounges. They're already doing Capital One dining and playing into that. They're already doing Capital One entertainment. They're like the exclusive place for early access to some entertainment tickets. I want to say the Eras Tour from Taylor Swift, early access with Capital One, like huge market right there. And if they expand that beyond like the Taylor Swifts of the world, if you're also able to get some of the others or make a serious investment into Live Nation or something like that to increase access and cachet to even more tickets, that only benefits Capital One. Increases people signing up for Capital One cards to get a chance to get that early access. So Capital One will play there, right? They're an interesting case because with the Discover merger, I don't know what Capital One's next moves look like in terms of premium travel credit cards. Their play where they can move the Quicksilver for good credit, the Quicksilver One, the Saver for good credit, the Platinum, those can all move to the Discover payment network. Of the Discover cards, you imagine that the Discover It is going to move up to a Capital One network partner, whether that be Visa or MasterCard. And then over the next decade, Capital One, it would be wise for them to invest into their ecosystems and their payment network with Discover to move everything to that and create their own closed loop system, because look at how much money American Express can generate with their spend, regardless of everything else that they do. A closed loop for Capital One makes a lot of sense to keep a lot of money in, and then that money can be used to work on partnerships and bring in some more coupons and create that perpetual system as well. So Capital One makes a lot of sense for them to jump into the coupon book wars. How they would come out on top is a different story. I don't necessarily see them being able to come out on top. Like, you've got Lyft and Uber spoken for. Do they make a Waymo partnership where Waymo isn't nearly as ubiquitous as the other two? Do they make a play for Revel? Another, like, Revel I know is New York City. I think Revel is in some other cities as well. But Lyft and Uber are the big ones. Do they do a general rideshare credit and kind of just take what they can get? That would also make a fair amount of sense. So it'll be interesting to see. They also don't have cards that significantly reward travel. They've got dining, grocery, and entertainment on the savers. On the venture cards, it's just a flat 2x unless you're going into Capital One's portal. Are they going to try and order rideshare through our portal, get a discount? There's less logical places to find credits aside from the StubHub credit that is rumored to be coming to Chase would make a lot of sense with Capital One. In addition to StubHub, something like SeatGeek or, God forbid, Ticketmaster would make a lot of sense to get a credit through that and go from there. Or even Live Nation, right? I mentioned them earlier. Purchase Live Nation tickets, get $100 back or something like that. It has to be an X amount of purchase, but it's Live Nation. Those tickets will be expensive to begin with. So Capital One can make moves in the coupon space. I'm not saying that they can't or that they're boxed in or anything like that, but they would be the next biggest issuer to think of in terms of jumping into that. Yeah, I just don't know where Capital One fits. But it makes sense that if they're going to launch this Saver X and make a more higher end Capital One duo with Saver X and Venture X, that there be a lot of credits available. And especially if they're going to do anything like raise the annual fee on the Venture X or modify the Venture X in any way, shape, or form, which is going to eventually happen. I can't say it's going to happen in 2025. Maybe it happens in 2026. I don't know. But it's been too good to be true for too long. And Capital One has a $35 billion hole that they have to start figuring out how they're going to start recouping that. So we'll have to see. But Capital One to me is the next biggest issuer in terms of jumping into the coupon book fray. How they're going to do it, I don't know. It's already rumored that they're looking to do this with a rumored Saver X. If that comes to fruition, we'll have to see what happens. Yeah, I just wanted to point out the Capital One to me is the next major issue, or how they do it, I don't know. But they're already laying down foundations, putting down breadcrumbs that they're going to be jumping into the coupon book thing. I don't know. I don't want to just say like into the coupon book wars all the time. I'm labeling this series Coupon Book Wars. So for now, Capital One would be the next one in. How they're going to do it, I don't know. But based on what we're seeing from Saver X, based on what we could see from Venture X, they're going to lean in on entertainment. They're going to lean in on Capital One travel. They're going to lean in potentially on rideshare. But we'll just have to see. They seem to be taking more of the internal credit page more than anything. So that would make a fair amount of sense. But we'll just have to see what they end up doing. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button down below. Check out the Stack Your Points podcast we record on Monday nights. We release here on YouTube on Wednesdays and Fridays. We do a live here on Thursday nights at 8:30. Check out my pinned comment for ways to support me outside of YouTube. If you want to support me here on YouTube, consider becoming a channel member. That is the $2.99 Tidbit Collector level. You can cancel at any time. You could have been anywhere else, but you chose to stick around with me, so thank you for that. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.